we are never taught how to get in touch with our emotions. In fact, from a very young age, we are taught to block our emotions. We are taught to deny how we feel and only feel what has been normalized by our society for us to feel. Growing up, we shared stories with other girls at school about the dishes we could cook. But then while sharing these stories, it was normalized that you can't say you don't know to cook a certain type of food, because saying that was labeled like you are just a pretender, you are pretending to live a certain lifestyle that you are not. But in real sense, you really don't know the dish that people are talking about, and you can't even cook it. And it was not welcome for you to say that you couldn't do something. Like, you were always supposed to say that you could do everything, and saying that you were not able to do something was not welcome in the discussion. So the life we lived was just faking up that we knew everything. But deep down, as individuals, we knew that some of us didn't know how to do particular tasks at all. But then that was not welcomed on the table. And you could have experienced a total different story, but the bottom line is that these small things that we experience as kids have affected us to date, because if you are not able to express the truth of how you feel, of the condition you are in, then possibilities are you are not living the truth, and you are conditioned to that to an extent that you are now a grown-up and you are used to the habit of suppressing your emotions and your feeling and portraying to the world this version of you that isn't really you. Deep down, you just want to hide in a corner and just find somebody and just go raw with them and tell them what has really been happening inside of you. Deep down, you want to take off this stronger you and bring out that vulnerable you, because these are voices that will never stop talking to us, and these voices come in form of feelings. And I want us to take this out of this video. I want us to change the narrative in this video. There is nothing like negative emotions. All emotions, all feelings that we feel have messages to us, and they show that there is something we need to deal with. They show that we have to find a solution to a certain problem. And blocking them does not solve the problem. Blocking them does not make us come out of the problem. Blocking them is just blocking them. And it's going to come a time when we experience an emotional outburst, and sometimes when we block our emotions, they find ways of channeling themselves out, and we might never see it. Today I want us to change the narrative. I want us to understand that there is nothing like negative emotions. Every emotion that comes into our mind has a message, and it is our duty to feel it, to sit in it, to talk to it, and find the root thought, find the root action that caused this emotion to come up. So I want us to look at ways of feeling our emotions. So the first tip is just feel it. And when I talk about feeling it, I mean sometimes you might feel emotions that you can't label them. You don't know how to define them, and it's totally okay. Sometimes it takes time for you to identify an emotion for what it is, for you to find a name for it. So just accept whatever you're feeling and don't try to block it in any way, even if you don't understand it. If the emotion tells you to cry, just cry it out. If it tells you to lie down and just sleep or just talk to yourself, just do that. Sometimes you don't have to understand what you feel. Sometimes you just have to give yourself time to feel whatever you are feeling. And believe me, once you take yourself slow and once you have compassionate with how you feel, believe me, the inner child in you is going to give you the answer. The inner child in you is going to show you where the problem is, and you're going to be able to address it, and you're going to come out of it. So don't be aggressive with yourself. You don't have to understand it. The first step you need to do is just accept what you feel and feel it. Feel it for the time that you are supposed to feel it, until it comes automatic to you, that you are able to identify that this feeling is 1, 2, 3. So the second step after feeling what you feel, giving it time, label what you feel. What is it? And we are so used to these labels like anger or sad, but there's some other feelings that we don't label appropriately. So enrich your vocabulary and know exactly how you feel. Is it embarrassment? Is it jealousy? Because even jealousy, as much as we are told it's a negative emotion, it shows us that there is a problem within us, and that is why this emotion comes. So why ask yourself, once you have labeled whatever you feel, ask yourself, tell yourself it is okay to feel this way, and there must be a reason behind this. So what is the reason? Keep asking your inner child these questions. Why am I jealous? Why am I angry? Why am I desperate? Why? Enrich your vocabulary to an extent that when you feel what you feel and you have accepted it, you can actually label it and ask for answers from within yourself. And sometimes you might need somebody to help you because some emotions are too intense to handle them on your own. So this is where you can talk to a friend, talk to a therapist. Just find a way of talking it out, because some of these things are too intense for you to handle them on your own. Just look around and notice the right person that you can talk to. Something to note is that sometimes the labeling process can be very tiring, and sometimes the inner child in you can be tired of giving you the answer. So you have to be compassionate with yourself and just give yourself time. Be compassionate, but don't stop, because our brains are wired in such a way that they were created to defend us. So the more you demand for answers for what you feel, the more your brain is going to try to stop you. It's going to tell you you are tired. It's going to tell you so many things, because let's face it, some emotions I don't want to use the word embarrassing, but sometimes we just don't believe that we are feeling certain feelings or we are feeling in a certain way, and this is all denial. And because of this, our brain tells us you shouldn't be facing this. And the thing is, once you listen to this child telling you, or this voice telling you that you shouldn't be facing this is fear. And just ask yourself, what is behind this? Why is it that you are stopping me from going behind this? Why is it that you don't want me to open this door? But at the same time, you are demanding for answers. But at the same time, you have to be gentle with yourself. You have to understand how you feel. You have to give yourself time. But at the same time, you have to be this nanny who is ready to guide the child inside. So if I can do a recap, the first thing we said in feeling our emotions is you feel it, you accept it. The second thing is you label it. So the third thing is, after you have labeled it, allow yourself to sit in that emotion. View it like you're viewing a separate object. Know when it comes, know where it comes from, know with whom, know when it comes. Like, when does it come? When you're with who, or when you're at which place? Like, at what time does this emotion show up? You see? So sit in that emotion and know, like, track it down from when it activates itself, and go down to the thought that triggers you to bring up these kind of emotions. And once you trace the thoughts, you will be able to stress the action that leads to these thoughts, and these thoughts that lead to this emotion that you're feeling. So once you find the source or the action that led to this feeling, you are almost there. You are almost going through it. So you have spotted it and you have accepted it, and now it's time for you to substitute that action. If it was bringing negativity inside you, you need to substitute that action with something that is going to bring positivity inside of you. If it was a person that you are around, and because of the energy, the toxicity that they bring, you felt a certain way, then you already know that those are people you shouldn't hang around with. If it was a positive emotion that came because you are around certain people, that tells you that you should be around that kind of an environment. So basically, sitting with that emotion means you view it as a separate entity and go down to the thought, go down to the action, and then there you are. You have already mastered how to feel your emotion. Wrapping up this video, I want us to look at the things that can happen if we don't allow ourselves to feel our emotions. First, there is unhealthy coping. Unhealthy coping examples are like drug addiction or social media addiction, or even overeating. When you don't feel what you are supposed to feel, it becomes a hole. There is still that void inside you. There is still that space inside you that needs to be attended to, and you might find yourself doing things that you've never done before. You find yourself eating all the time because once you eat, you feel like you are unfeeling what you are feeling. Or rather, for example, the people who take drugs, if you listen to majority of the stories, they'll tell you that once they do that, they feel better about themselves. And because they feel better, they keep doing that, they keep doing it to an extent that it becomes part of them, like this drug becomes part of them. So you just need to notice what you are doing as a way of coping up with your emotions, I'll give an example of myself. When I lost my father, may Allah's mercy be upon him, I didn't accept it at first, So I was in this state of denial, and because of this, I didn't want to be around people. And after classes, I always rushed out of the room because I didn't want people to tell me sorry. I didn't want people to talk about him again. And I got so angry when people said sorry. And it took time for me to realize that this is how I decided to go back. And I kept asking myself questions like, why am I behaving this way? Why is it that I'm getting so angry when somebody says sorry? Why is it that I keep rushing out of class when the class is over? Like, this me that was coming out at that time wasn't the me I was used to. So sometimes you can see it yourself, but sometimes it's other people who see it, and they tell you you have changed, you are not this kind of person. So if you block your emotions, be ready to channel that into something else. So the reason as to why I didn't want people to say sorry, because they reminded me of something I lost, and I didn't want to accept that I had lost someone, and I had to accept it. I had to feel it. I had to tell myself that it's okay, that he is in another world, he's just not in this world. Like, you have to find a way of talking to yourself, because that voice you feel, that voice that brings emotions, it's like the child inside you. It wants you to give it attention, and the moment you don't give it the attention it needs, it will keep on haunting you. And if you block it, you know how kids behave. Like, they will just look for a way of coming out, and they will just look for a way of making you address it. So if you want to deny your emotional pain, just know that the first thing is you risk falling into addictions. The second thing is you are going to experience emotional outburst. Okay, another thing I want to mention is that the beauty of facing your emotions is that you not only get the privilege of understanding how you feel and how you talk to yourself, you also get this ability, this gift of understanding other people, or the ability to feel what other people feel, even if you don't really understand it, Yeah, so like I've always said, charity begins at home. Once you are able to be compassionate with yourself, once you are able to go down to your emotions, to listening to yourself, to talking to yourself, to being gentle with yourself, it's so easy to do that to other people. And you will notice that if you have been avoiding your emotions, it's so hard for you to understand what other people feel, because first thing, you are denying emotion. So how are you going to understand how other people feel? So if you want to be able to understand how other people feel and be compassionate with them, you need to start with your home first. You need to fix your home first. One last thing I'll emphasize is that facing your emotions is not going to be an easy journey. Your mind is always going to try to block you, and I'm sure you've experienced this multiple times. Like you stop yourself from going to the roots of the problems. You stop yourself from opening that door because you don't know, you don't want to see what is behind it. But I'm telling you, just opening one door and it's going to get easier. The first door you'll open it with hardship, the second door is going to be a little less hard, and then it's going to get better as time goes. But you have to start. You don't need to block what you feel, you don't need to deny it. It's normal to feel how you feel. There are no negative emotions. Emotions have messages from our inner child, and they have messages that as long as they are not solved, these messages will keep coming back, until we experience this emotional outburst. It's just like a blocked pipe. So it's blocked, yeah, and there is water coming. What happens over time? This pipe is going to burst and everything is going to come out. So don't think that just because you don't want to feel what you are supposed to feel, you are trying to avoid it. Don't think that you're solving it. You are actually just pushing the problems under the table, and they are accumulating. And guess what? A day is coming when things are going to explode, and we don't want it to get there. We want to solve it as soon as now. Thank you so much for watching. Support a sister, like the video, comment below, and bring in more subscribers. Masala.